Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
All right, I'm Jason Whitlock. He's Marcellus Wiley. He survived. That dude!
Yes, sir.
All right, welcome to Speak for Yourself, the most fearless show in sports. Coming up, we'll tell you if Baker Mayfield needs to just stop talking for a while. And 1 hour from now, I've got some advice for Ezekiel Elliott on how to get his money. But we start today with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo's first football game in nearly a year made me think of two things. One, 70% of all lottery winners file bankruptcy, and half say they're no more happy after the financial windfall. Two, the notorious B.I.G. song, More Money, More Problems, is the most prophetic song in the history of rap music.
Really?
18 months ago, the notorious Jimmy G hit the NFL lottery. He parlayed a 5-game winning streak at the end of the 2017 season into a 5-year contract that momentarily made him the highest paid player in the league. He signed the deal in February of 2018. In July, just 5 months after inking a deal that paid him $27.5 million per year, TMZ spotted Jimmy in Beverly Hills on a date with a porn star. Yeah. You say, so what? He can date who he wants. Damn, it's not our business.
Damn right. Damn.
I said then, and I say now. Jimmy G String's choice of public companion tells us something about his personality that might make him unfit to be a franchise quarterback. He doesn't understand or take seriously all the responsibilities that go along with being the face of an NFL franchise. You give someone like that a $137 million contract, and there's a damn good chance you'll live to regret it. I don't want to make too much of one awful preseason game, particularly the first game he's played since injuring his knee in September. But last night against the Broncos, Jimmy G completed just 1 of 6 passes for 0 yards, and he tossed an interception. His passer rating was 0.0. Last week, we heard reports that in practice, Garoppolo threw 5 straight interceptions. Last week, informed NFL reporters started pointing out the 49ers could easily get out from underneath Garoppolo's contract at the conclusion of this season. Our own Peter Schrager mentioned how much San Francisco coach Kyle Shanahan likes backup quarterback Nicky Mullins. You know what Garoppolo said after TMZ called him cavorting with a porn star?
What?
It is a good learning experience. Just have to take it in stride. I mean, it is what it is.
You know what Garoppolo said last night after his pitiful performance?
So, it is what it is, the preseason right now, so just got to take it in stride.
You know what Garoppolo said after Japan bombed Pearl Harbor?
Stop.
It's just a tiny island. We have to take it in stride. He said the same damn thing after John Wilkes Booth shot Lincoln. Take it in stride. You know why lottery winners go bankrupt? Because they don't understand the meaning of more money, more problems. They think they can take everything in stride after hitting the lottery. Jimmy G, the more money you come across, the more interceptions we see. Joining the desk now are Fox Sports NFL analyst Mark Schlereth and James Harrison, a future Hall of Famer. Marcellus, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
Time to worry about Jimmy G as a franchise quarterback.
Time to worry? Not enough good evidence out there for us not to panic. I mean, if you think about who he is, you don't even know what that is. He's not played a full NFL season, even though you would try to combine and extrapolate 3 seasons of performance to get to almost half of a real regular season game. The deal was premature, which set absurd expectations for a player who we don't know who he is. And I'm the eternal optimist. I always like to think up for a player, especially with his talent and skill set. But I'm voting this down. If you ask me, is it time to panic? I don't even know where we got those expectations.
Contract.
Where we got those expectations based on his body of work to think that he was going to be greater than what we're seeing right now. Let's talk about when he returned after he won the 5 games in San Francisco, came back before the injury. 59% completion percentage, sacked 13 times, roller coaster ride before injury. So I think everything about his career so far has been premature. and it's time for us to panic if you ever had those great expectations of him?
I don't think it's time to panic. I think you had a situation where, I mean, he was being pressured like crazy. I mean, he didn't have a clean pocket. And then the knee. The knee is a bigger problem than what he's making it out to be. You can see as he was jittering through the pocket in a couple of those plays, he's not fully confident in that, no matter what he says. This hasn't been a full year yet. And you're talking about a major, major surgery injury. So I don't think it's time to panic yet. Maybe if we get deeper into the season and he still hasn't come around, it's time to panic. But right now, you have injury, and it's the preseason. I remember when I played for the Steelers. Like, we had a horrible game. These boys ran the ball all up and down the field in Buffalo. Couldn't believe it. We still ended up being #1 defense. So it's the preseason. I wouldn't panic. That's just my opinion.
Here's the thing, and I agree with you. I think there's a couple of things. Anytime you're coming off an injury, you have to set an expectation for yourself. It's not the physical part that's hard to come over or get over after an injury. It's the mental part. It's from the neck up. And so you have to reestablish whatever my 100% is. Like, I may be 80% of what I used to be, but that's my new 100%. And I've got to be okay with going out there and performing with my new 100% level. The only way you learn how to do that is by doing it. You can talk about it, but you cannot get comfortable playing after an injury until you've played after that injury. So this was the first step in becoming comfortable. You're right. He was pressured on all those plays. He got two balls tipped at the line of scrimmage. So he had a couple of those things that went down. Here's the other thing. There is no game planning going on right now. And if you look at Kyle Shanahan is a great game planner. Matt Ryan won an MVP when Kyle Shanahan was the coordinator, because not only the game plan, but he gets to play in with about 25 seconds left. And so he's talking to the quarterback all the way till the play clock shuts off and tells you, hey, this is what they're in, this is what we're going to do. You're not doing that right now. So I would just tell you to pump the brakes. I think Jimmy G is going to be fine. There's no question he's got a great skill set, and he's got a great coach to take him along that path. So for everybody that's hitting the panic button, I would say stop right now and let it play out.
The only thing I'll say, everybody's playing preseason football right now, and I'm seeing Daniel Jones complete passes. I'm seeing Dak complete passes.
He got the injury now, and he got live bullets now. It's not practice anymore. It's not, no one's going to fall into your knee. The last play that you showed, he got hit on the back and actually stumbled on his front.
Well, you don't have the body of work to give him the benefit of the doubt. And you also can't start his career with a reference point post-injury, because the expectations are so great because of that contract. If he continues on this trajectory, and I know it's the preseason, I get it, but when you don't have a body of work,
panicking after one preseason game.
No. I forget before he got hurt.
Okay.
People were like, was that the right deal? Then he gets hurt, so we paused that. Okay. Now, bad practice performances. Who cares? Then it
Really?
No, I say who cares until they translate into the game.
Okay.
And then it's like, okay, and now you have this contract. The elephant in the room is we have you on a team-friendly deal. The Kaepernick deal, which sounds great in big numbers, but if you dive into those details, a lot of exit strategies for the team. Okay. So if he doesn't step up, injury or not, you know how the game is.
No question.
This is going to be one and done.
Which is fine. I will tell you this. The report on the practice situation. I sat, like you and I are sitting right here, and talked to John Lynch on Friday, general manager of the San Francisco 49ers. What's that?
No, perfect. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I sat and talked to him. He said he's been great in camp. He had one horrid practice, but I watched him on Friday. I sat there and watched him when a joint scrimmage on Friday against the Denver Broncos in a practice scenario cut up the Denver Broncos defense on Friday. Now, it didn't translate to the game. I get that.
He had a red jersey on, right?
Right. He did have a red jersey on, but still.
And that first interception was
which goes to the point of this is the first time you've been in a game where you know you could get hit. Right. That's the mental hurdle that you're going to have to overcome as a quarterback. I just think we're putting, from an expectation standpoint, we're putting a ton on him because he got paid. I get that. But I think right now, as far as that one performance, you have to also remember this is the Broncos' third preseason game. So it was their second preseason game, the first one he played in. So the Broncos are ahead from a defensive standpoint of what they put in, planning, also the blitz stuff that they brought.
I'm going to go back to Kawhi Leonard and what I felt like we learned from Kawhi Leonard. things leak for a reason. If people don't want information out there, it doesn't come out there. So, again, somebody throwing 5 interceptions in practice, you normally don't hear about it. They throw 2, you don't hear about 3. Someone wanted this information out there, and it got out there. I'm not sure how.
Well, the practices are open, and so he went 5 straight plays in a row where he threw
That's
interceptions.
unprecedented.
And
all that.
That's
hard to do. That's hard to do.
I don't know if they do that in Pee Wee. I mean, that's really, and so I just think that discussion, and then when I start hearing veteran reporters like a Peter Schrager start mentioning, they can get out of this deal. They really like Nicky Mullins.
But think about this. If he didn't have that bad game, you wouldn't have heard about the interceptions.
No, we heard about.
No, we heard it before.
Yeah. Let me help you out here. Look, James.
I'm trying to help you.
Hey, look, I know.
This is not time to panic to me. I gotta help my point,
bro,
right?
I've been away from the game for a long time, so help me out here. Is 0.0 a good passer rating or a bad one? Yeah, that part. You know why? You never want to see somebody who has $127 million on the books, and he throws for a 0. No way, no how. Like, you got to get a back.
Preseason game number 3, if he comes out and cuts it up, then I want you guys to come in here and give it a public apology right here.
I have no problem because I'm going to say this thing. When he went 5-0, I was singing his praises. I was giving him money, love him. I watched those games.
Yeah.
And people can say, oh, there were teams that didn't care, didn't take San Francisco seriously. No, I watched him and was impressed. But then he got paid. And I've seen people change after they get paid. I've seen them that's the finish line, not the start line. And again, so we don't know what this dude is made of. What we do know, and we blame Tom Brady, but what we do know is Bill Belichick let him go. And I haven't seen Bill Belichick let too many guys go that can really play.
Well, the thing for me
Chandler
is,
Jones?
Well, no. A lot of defensive players.
Mayo.
A lot of players. Richard Seymour.
We keep going.
There's a lot of players. I don't want to go to that part.
Yeah. Who's quarterback that got benched? Who's that guy? Best quarterback in football?
Drew Bledsoe, $100 million man.
Come on now.
All right. New information deserves a new assessment. So I will change with the wind with Jimmy G, specifically because I can't trust his body of work. Typically, when you have a guy with a body of work, a resume, you lean towards the resume even during down times when they hit a rough patch. When he hits a rough patch, it might be telling. It might be defining of who he really is. And the rough patch didn't start last night. It didn't start post-injury. It started before the injury. We have to take that into consideration.
He didn't have enough time before the injury to try and get out of that rough patch. Maybe he could have got out of it. You haven't seen that either. That's a possibility.
He's thrown 361 passes in his career. That's like Matthew Stafford half of a regular season. Like 8 games of Matthew Stafford is this guy's entire body of work. So when you grade them not how you want to, but how they will, how the real assessment will come based on that contract and based on 361 passes, I don't know why we leaning positive. We don't know. It's a question mark, and everything you do is going to be a new
I'm not leaning positive. I'm just not leaning negative. I'm not saying it's time to panic and throw everything out the window. You want to go ahead and throw him to the dogs and see what
$127 million, the cages are open. You know that.
They can't get out of it till after next year anyway.
This looks like a bigger Matt Flynn deal. And, Matt Flynn had less work. He didn't have 8 games or whatever, but I'm sorry. And again, I loved him during that 5-0 stretch. I agreed with their decision to pay him. I thought he was can't miss. I see a guy now, the first 2 games last year, 2.5 games, it wasn't the same. And look, I think Kyle Shanahan did a terrific job with Matt Ryan, but, I saw him struggle with Donovan McNabb, and you can blame that on Donovan McNabb. I wasn't the biggest Kirk Cousins guy. I thought he put up numbers, but I didn't think they were winning. And so, he's allegedly built his reputation off Kirk Cousins and still in love with Kirk Cousins. I just don't think Kyle Shanahan's infallible, and I don't know if this is going to be an easy fix. The guy's got a banged-up knee, and he's got a bunch of money in his pocket, and, he's comfortable running around with porn stars.
I don't mind that part. What did Nino Brown say in New Jack City to G Money? Don't be worried about keep your mind on the money. Stay focused on what's more important, wins and losses.
I will tell you this, though.
A lot of great players have messed around on the
He
side.
is an elite level thrower of the football. He really is. His talent level is great. Now, does everything else? I mean, we've seen a lot of James Harrison got cut a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen a lot of guys that have elite level talent level that can't play. And then we've seen guys that have worked their butts off and become Hall of Famers.
Mark Schlereth is back. We're joined now by Super Bowl champion Will Blackman.
Jealous.
Time now
What you mean?
Hey,
I got a
for
question
a
about
big
that.
story. Let's move to Baker Mayfield, who just can't seem to stop talking trash. The Browns quarterback just sat for a lengthy profile in GQ, talking about everything from the Browns' future to his over-the-top personality. But he also appeared to take a shot at an unprovoked shot at another quarterback, telling the magazine, quote, "I cannot believe the Giants took Daniel Jones. Blows my mind. Some people overthink it. That's where people go wrong. They forget you got to win." Baker appeared to be referring to Jones going 17-19 at Duke as the starting quarterback. But today he responded to the story on Instagram, writing, quote, "This is not what I said. Just so we're clear. I also said I was surprised I got drafted #1. Then was talking about the flaws in evaluating quarterbacks, where I brought up winning being important. Reporters and media will do anything to come up with a clickbait story. Heard nothing but good things and wished nothing but the best for Daniel Jones."
I like that one.
Why'd you read it like that, though?
Sound like Baby from Cash Money.
Why do you read it like that?
Problem with Baker's criticism of Daniel
Done with
Jones.
it.
I don't have a problem with his personality. I don't have a problem with him always wanting to smoke. I remember Deion Sanders getting drafted with 20 gold chains on. And the only thing I loved about that is he said, "Bullseye, come on." And he backed up every level and every one of them damn chains every single year he bought. So I love the personality. I don't like the content and what he was saying about Daniel Jones in specific. And it's not factual. It's just not. I mean, if you look at the quarterbacks, there's a list that is a divide of quarterbacks who won in college, like a Tim Tebow and Jameis Winston. How's it working in the pros? Not the same. Versus those who have lost in college. Elway, your favorite quarterback. Jared Goff, Super Bowl quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, the MVP of the league. They all lost in college. So part of that retraction to me feels like, oh, one, I don't want to really come across like this to Daniel Jones. Who knows what he could become? But two, I'm actually incorrect in what my analysis is. So maybe somebody got to him and made him retract it. But still be yourself. Just fact check before you go out there.
Yeah, if you can play, you can play. And to back up your statement, Kellen Moore is the winningest quarterback in college football history. He's 30 years old. He's the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. You know, so to back that up. But, yeah, same thing. I love his personality. I love that he's honest. I respect that. It depends how the question was proposed. You know, he could have said, spoken for everybody else. Yeah, I was shocked, just like everyone else, you know, that they took him. I don't look at it as a shot, because just based on I wasn't there for the interview, but I don't think he would go out there and just start attacking people. Now, I know he's the type where if you say something to him, then you're never gonna hear the end of it. But I don't see it as an attack.
Well, he attacked his own running back until he finally got traded
Well,
away.
his running back, but I'm not. Well,
Unprovoked.
Unprovoked, yeah.
We don't stay in each other's pockets. You know, I got my own address. You got your own address. It's not your
Yeah,
pocket.
100% agree.
You know, for a guy that keeps a list on everything that everybody else says, you know, you probably ought to just, when it comes to other players, maybe you shouldn't, you know, put yourself down that road if you're Baker Mayfield. I get that part of it. I understand that things do oftentimes get taken out of context. We do it in this business all the time. Like, I remember talking effusive in my praise for Tim Tebow as a person, as an athlete, as a work ethic guy, and then I would say, you know, at the end of that, the caveat was, yeah, but from a quarterbacking standpoint, he doesn't have the discernible quarterbacking skills that it takes to play in this league. And the only thing that gets printed is Schlereth says that Tim Tebow doesn't have discernible quarterbacking skills, right?
Mark said he's a scrub.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I understand how the game is played. I do understand that that standpoint. And the winning thing, like my whole thing is, can you play or can you not play? You know, you hear it from guys from small schools all the time. Oh, this is a small school, he didn't play against competition. Man, can you play or can you not play?
Right.
Put on the film.
Yeah.
What is the film? What does my eyeballs tell me about this guy? If he can play regardless of what level he played at, whether he won in college or not.
Well, where he's dead wrong and Marcellus is right is the key indicator that they say predicts success is the number of starts in college. That's what they say is critical. 17-19 means the guy started 36 games. That's like 3 seasons worth. It's the guys that come out after playing 1 season or 2, Mark Sanchez, We got a kid, Kyler Murray, now, that's coming out with just one season under his belt. That's where the red flags start to fly. And so, look, I think I said this earlier today on a radio interview. These guys that all want to be like Deion Sanders, Jalen Ramsey. I want to be Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, Muhammad Ali, man, these are once-in-a-lifetime type guys, man. That's lightning in a bottle that you can be that guy. And to me, with Deion and with Muhammad Ali, that's just in them at birth. That's who they are. I see a lot of guys trying to be them. They weren't trying to be anything but themselves. And so this, to me, smells a little bit like Jalen Ramsey, talking too much, and then Jalen Ramsey, a really talented guy, but it blew up in his face.
GQ putting something in the water. I don't know what they're doing.
Oh, man.
I don't know what they're doing in the interviews, man.
And so I just say be careful here, Baker. Let your play talk the loudest. Because
that's an old model, Whitlock. I know our age.
But he can play, so I agree. Let that happen.
Agree what? The world has changed into the polarization.
No, I'm saying I agree in terms of let his play speak.
No, look, you can be understated in this league and not get your proper monetary value or proper appreciation.
For example, who?
For example, one, Richard Sherman and Darrell Revis just found this out the right way, like a Floyd Mayweather. Pretty boy Floyd was undefeated, and nobody gave a damn. Then he turned to Money Mayweather. Everybody said, let's make him the highest paid athlete.
Speaking of what Sherman does.
Let's keep going.
Go ahead,
let's stay in our
go.
sport. Richard Sherman, those guys. Oh, it's great to go out there and get 5 interceptions, but get 5 interceptions and sell some smoke with it. Now, all of a sudden, you're a household name.
Right.
Dennis Rodman said, I was getting 18 rebounds when I was just a normal guy without pink hair, but once I did, all of a sudden, everything changed. There is something to selling that smoke. You just got to do it. You just got to back it up.
Here's the one thing about him, and having covered one of his games, called one of his games, talked to John Dorsey, the GM of the Cleveland Browns. John Dorsey told me, I'll paraphrase, he's all onions. Like, he is who he is. He is 100% all in, all onions, in your face. That's who he is. And as long as you're authentic, like I think most players, most coaches, most guys, as long as you are who you are, you get away with it if you're Muhammad Ali because that's who you are.
Right.
You get away with it with Deion Sanders because you are that.
It's not an act.
And it's with Baker, it's not an act. He is who he is. So he's authentic, and that to me is the biggest part of it about
All right, Darnell, what did we miss?
Yeah, it's a Baker's teammate who's also not scared to speak his mind, OBJ. Sports Illustrated posted an article earlier today where OBJ talked about being traded to Cleveland. He said that the Giants had received better offers for him and still chose to sell him to the Browns out of spite, saying, quote, this wasn't no business move. This was personal. They thought they sent me here to die. You think there's some truth to this?
No, I think they made the best. I think
Give me $90 million and send me to Cleveland to live. With my best friend.
Oh, I'm the mistake on the lake. Let's do it, baby.
And I think this is a shot at Cleveland more than anything.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It really, I mean, obviously he wasn't around and maybe haven't studied enough of Cleveland football, the dog pound, the OGs.
There's history there, man.
Man, Cleveland was the spot. When I was
It's a
growing
football
up,
town.
Cleveland, Denver, you were like, oh, that's the AFC Championship game, it felt like every year. But with that said, it's always personal, OBJ. But you're taking it personal because you're involved. I get it, but it's still a transaction to them, so
Right.
you got to detach yourself emotionally from it. But to go to Cleveland and die, if you land in any of these 32 cities that has a football team,
It's a
guess what,
privilege.
man? It's a privilege because that check cashes at every bank.
I see what he's saying. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, you cover them, you look at them on paper. Now, paper, like I like to say, if the games were played on paper, I'd spend less time on an operating table. They're not. But you look at them on paper, man, this is a damn talented football
Absolutely,
team.
yeah.
A really talented football team.
Might have did him a favor.
I think I can see where he's saying that because the Giants did underperform. And the fact that he was part of the moves that they made in the offseason, I can see why he took it personal. But everybody moved on. And he's saying move on, like you're good.
Yeah.
Like,
Move on,
You're
bro.
in a great, you got a wonderful quarterback. You got plenty of dough, and you're with your best friend. You're in a team that's on a rise that, like, the inner workings are trying to get this team to where
You got
it's
that
big.
new Brown Rolls Royce.
James Harrison and Mark Schlereth are back. Let's move to Oakland, where the Antonio Brown saga continues to drag on. Brown showed up and practiced with a regular helmet today. Even still, the diva receiver has now reportedly filed another grievance with the league, and he's also decided to appeal a to a power greater than the NFL, tweeting, quote, "Call God. When the world is against you, look at the sky. God is with you." All right, look, my opinion on this is that Antonio Brown doesn't really have the same passion for football. I said this yesterday. I think when you lose that passion, you start looking for reasons why not to do things rather than why you can. This whole helmet thing is a smokescreen. The guy doesn't really have the same passion or the passion that made him one of the greatest receivers of all time. That's been diminished. I just don't think the passion's there for him to play football like it used to be.
I wouldn't question his passion. Not a fan of people who question immeasurables. I've always witnessed that being a player and now being up here at this desk, when you question something that has no answer, you can't even measure it. Does he have the passion for the game? Does he still have the heart for it? Can he stomach the rigors of everyday process? Man, shut up. You know why? Because all I want you to do is look at my resume. And I'm talking about, what is it, 6 years, 100 catches, 1,200 yards, and no one ever has done that. So if no one's ever done that, I wonder what their passion looks like, or at least their talent level. This is a guy, as last seen on a football field, was amazing. I don't care how he was in terms of his internal makeup, because we'll never know that assessment. But if your game speaks as loudly as his, I'm not going any other place to look for where your desires are.
Yeah, as far as his passion is concerned, I mean, the guy is a great football player. So I'm not going to go, like, he gets on the football field and you talk to anybody, you know him better than I do. I mean, I don't even know him. But, you know, talking to guys that played for the Steelers, there's nobody from a work ethic standpoint, when he's on the practice field, there ain't nobody that has more passion or works any harder than him.
You know, he skipped his last NFL game.
Well, I understand. He
didn't play.
He got suspended. He skipped a practice and got suspended from his last NFL game.
That's a sign that you don't want to play when you start.
Well, listen, has he become an?
That was a misunderstanding.
Right? Has he become an issue?
Oh, he didn't know they were going to practice the day before the game.
No, not necessarily. If you're being told something and you do that thing that you're being told that you're allowed to do, and then it's not what exactly you understood it to be, and now that is the repercussion.
Decode that. I know what you're saying, though. But
then, okay, that's what it is.
So Mike Tomlin miscommunicated something to him or misled him on something.
From what I understand is AB had a different understanding of the communications that they had and what was going to transpire.
Oh, kind of like the
week.
misunderstanding he has with the NFL about his helmet. Yeah. He's the common denominator in misunderstandings.
Okay, I mean that's true, but I mean to question his passion is nobody that I know is more passionate about this game. This man puts in more hours than anybody that I've seen getting prepared to play this game.
He talked about retiring because he didn't have the helmet. And you think his passion is equal to Tom Brady's?
He didn't retire.
He thought about it.
He didn't think about it. Listen, I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna throw something out there and see if I could get what I want, get it my way. It didn't work.
Yeah.
So now I had to eat my words, and now anything I say that is retirement based now is just a empty threat.
Right.
Well, I responded to him on Twitter. He didn't get back to me.
Not yet. It's coming.
I didn't respond to him. I thought I would get blocked, but I didn't. Because here's what my response to: when the world's against you, you look to the sky, God is with you. That was his tweet. I said, the world isn't against you. The world wants you to see you play. You are not a victim, Antonio Brown. You've been blessed by the hand of God with amazing abilities. Honor those blessings and find a damn helmet and dazzle us with your brilliance, right? And he found a damn helmet today. Maybe he just listened to me. Maybe he just listened to me. He's like, I love watching the guy play. I don't like all the extracurricular. And there will come a day when your problems outweigh your productions, and you know what? He's going to be looking for work when that day comes. But right now, that dude is a freak show when it comes to athletic ability and talent.
Mark, what I hear your response saying is like, you're leaning into being a victim rather than leaning into being the great player. And to me, when someone starts leaning into victimhood, that screams their passion is gone. Their belief in themselves. I'd rather be a victim than go out here and hunt like a lion is supposed to. Again, I just don't have a lot of tolerance for grown, healthy men that see themselves as victims. Particularly, again, I always reference my father, ultimate lion. Grew up in a time and an era where he was really hunted, and guys like him were really hunted. Never a victim, always on the hunt himself. And so I just don't have a lot of tolerance for AB and this whole victimhood. Oh, they won't let me wear my helmet. All this the problems he had with Mike Tomlin. We sit here and complain all the time about black coaches. And this dude, one of the best players, support your black coach. He didn't do it. He made a fool out of Mike Tomlin. Now he's over here in Oakland making a fool out of John Gruden.
Okay. Okay.
Passion's not there.
I'm with you. That topic bar doesn't say anything about this victimhood. We can switch lanes, but I'm going to say back.
Mark brought it up.
No, I respect that. We can go there because it's a different world. That's why a lot of these celebrities, entertainers are feeling victimized because they're just not used to the constant.
They've been emasculated, but go ahead. That's
that is a good conversation. We'll have that the next day. Let's talk about this, though. His passion. Catching bricks in church shoes, man. Do you remember that video? You can't do that unless you all in, brother. This dude is so all in, and it translates on the field. Work ethic, second to none. His numbers, second to none, the trajectory. And what comes into play now is what's around him. He's not fear-based, and I like that. I applaud someone who's like, look, I don't give a damn how this is going to end. Right now, on my terms, I want things a certain way. Look, I wish he would bought into the team concept and considered others in that process, but he has the hammer. So, as you always say, when you have the hammer, swing it, brother.
Here's the deal, and this is the thing that bothers me. You know, the victim, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about with him. He's been enabled to be that because of his talent. Yeah. So part of that is the lack of organizational structure and intestinal fortitude from the organization. Say, we ain't going to put up with this. The thing that really bothers me more than anything else is that he operates as an independent contractor. And when you operate as an independent contractor, you know what? You're not sold out for your team. And independent contractors don't win championships. Independent contractors can put up, they can make a lot of money. They can put up a lot of numbers. But I come from a world where it's about others first, and it's about the team concept, and it's about winning championships. And that's the thing that makes me sad for him, because he is exceptional. I mean, exceptional. You can make an argument that he's top 1 or 2 or 3 receivers in all of football. He's exceptional. And I would love to see him understand the team concept and to see where that could take him, because that is so, like, you look at Super Bowl rings, James.
It's a little bit of a different era right now,
right,
too.
I understand that, but
you look at social media, everybody wants the followers, they want the likes, and that's what guys are they're coming into the league.
At the end of the day, the guy who has the most likes and Twitter followers, you know what happens to him? He dies. That guy dies. We all die.
No question.
You know, and you know what? You're going to have the most Twitter followers. That means nothing. Having that championship, you have one. You have, right? Man, that ring, you know what that ring means? Sorry, Marcellus. You know what that ring means?
You got a ring, Marcel? You got a couple.
Hell no, didn't even want one. Didn't
you
care.
want one? I give you one.
You know what? No, I don't, actually. And look, I wasn't an AB level player, had my moments, but I will say this. Everyone's ultimate goal is not getting a ring. I respect what you said.
I get
but
you.
Look, when you 7, 8, 12 years old, not everybody's saying Super Bowl catch. Somebody is saying, I need money to get us out this situation.
I understand
and we
that,
need
too.
to respect those guys as well.
I understand.
He's putting up money in numbers.
Having won a Super Bowl, and you not having won one, would I give up half my money to get a Super Bowl if I didn't have one right now? I would.
Shoot, not even a question.
I
Never.
would.
I wouldn't give a
That's
penny
just
for it.
me. That's for the game. That's what that's my, how much I was into it.
I just want to say this, because Mark's made a point, and Mark, I'm about to put words in your mouth, but this is what I think you're saying. When AB starts saying call God and bringing God into the deal, then you start, are your actions in alignment with God? Well, you gonna call God and tell him, here's how we gonna do it? Or has it been laid out for you? What Mark is saying, again, the godly action is like concern for others. That's the approach. If you're gonna bring religion into this, let's make sure your message is consistent, and it's just not. He's a selfish narcissist who's totally into AB and not about others and the team, and it's offensive to me And I think it speaks to his lack of real passion. There's a lot of immature passion that people have. I have some immature passions. I'm probably going to hit a drive-through window when this show's over because of my immature passion.
Shut it down.
James Harrison and Mark Schlereth are back with us. Time now for Darnell's question of the day. Darnell, take it away.
Yes, sir. Move to Richard Sherman, who strongly defended the sport of football this week, explains to NBC Sports' Peter King why he lets his kids play the game, saying, quote, I understand that football teaches you values. It teaches you accountability, teaches you work ethic, teaches you how to be a teammate, teaches you how to overcome adversity, how to deal with a loss, how to deal with being coachable. All those are skills that translate to the real world. It teaches you how to overcome fear. Those are lessons I don't know how to teach otherwise. So I want to ask you guys, is football the best vehicle to teach the lessons Richard Sherman articulated?
I think for some people, absolutely. I think it's one of the most effective tools in teaching those lessons he talked about, and I'm glad Richard Sherman said these things.
I am glad he said these things. I've been on record not desiring that my son plays football. I think there's other ways up that mountain. But listening to Richard Sherman certainly was convincing. I mean, he had me wanting to sell some candy and registration line to get the boys signed up.
Right.
That said, he also talked about how, it's a risk-reward relationship. Football is a car crash that's going to happen, and it's going to happen a lot of times. And I don't want to sign my son up to be a passenger in that vehicle because there's so many ways up the mountain. Think about it. He's talking about values. What do you value most? Because if you value money the most, football's not the way to get the most money. If you value actual integrity the most, there's so many other avenues and ways and pursuits that you can have that gives you great values that is not going to dislocate your fingers and
for me, I'm all with him. This is the only way. I think this is the right vehicle for me to teach my sons. I'm like you. I don't care if my sons play ball or not, but they want to play ball.
Right.
So now that they come home and say, Dad, this happened, that happened, I can give them a story of what happened to me. Yeah. I can teach them through that whole football process of, son, if you're a little scared of this big, giant offensive lineman, that's fine. You know what? I was scared. Why do you think I try and tear their head off now? Because at one point in time, the size of them put fear in me.
Right.
So for him to say this is the best way for me to be able to teach my children.
Right, I'm 100% with you. I mean, there are so many people attacking this great game of ours in this nation of ours, and it really bothers me. Football has given me so much more than it's ever taken, and it's taken a lot. I mean, it beats you down. There's no question about that. But it's been an unbelievable vehicle. One thing, there wasn't a game, preseason, regular season, or postseason, that I didn't throw up in a trash can before I went out to play. That I was so nervous about letting my teammates down and all the things that I had that I felt like I was responsible for. But that fear didn't stop me from putting one foot in front of another and going out there and playing. It teaches you how to deal with fear. It teaches you how to get yourself back up after you get knocked down because you're going to get your butt whipped. Are you playing this game enough? You're going to get whipped.
How many surgeries?
29.
That's what I'm not signing my son up for. And I love football. I'm going to be real about this.
Right.
Look, and if you listen
Does he want to play?
Well, he's too young. So right now, when he
gets old enough,
if he sits
are you
down,
going to?
Oh, absolutely. I'm never standing in the way of his passion. But my desires are, okay, let's try and get up there a different way. Let's try to get these same values that I know I got from football and translate them into a different experience. But this also talks to, unfortunately, the era in which Richard Sherman grew up, I grew up, and we're both from the same neighborhood. So it's interesting. He says, those are lessons I don't know how to teach otherwise. When we're sent from a place that
I'm not saying I don't know how to teach it otherwise.
I'm talking about Richard Sherman.
Okay.
When we were from a place that they told us, grab a ball or entertainment, that's the only way you're going to learn these values and you're going to get your way out. Maybe there's a little escapism that comes from just only this narrow road of football.
I go back to effective. And so what's effective? And I think football's very effective. And I think a lot of the values, because Richard did a great job, but one of the things he didn't touch on is everybody always loves to talk about diversity, and how can we all get along? And there's no sport on the planet that brings a more diverse group of people together. And I'm not talking about race and all that. I'm just talking about you can be fat, you can be skinny, you can be slow, you can be fast, you can be tall, you can be short, you can be rich, you can be poor, you can be from the rural place, you can be from the city, you can be from the suburbs.
North, south, east, and west.
All of them in that same locker room, all of them on that same defensive team, and you have to learn to get along and work with these people. And a lot of them you don't even like, but you have to work with them in order to have success. And then you apply that to the rest of life. When you get out here in the real workforce, you're going to work next to some people you don't like, you don't respect, but you've been through these lessons in football of, hey, man, in order for me to reach my goal and for us to reach our goal, I got to get along with this person. It's a great game.
Right. We can't be great. Like, we can't be great as a team unless we're all great collectively together. That's the whole essence of team in general.
Before we go further, I want to give Ezekiel Elliott some advice. Zeke, if you want your money, you and your agent are going to have to tell the truth about Dak Prescott. Pretending like you feel disrespected because Jerry Jones cracked a Zeke who joke isn't going to get it done, Zeke. Jerry and the Cowboys are on the verge of doing something absolutely crazy. They're going to pay Dak Prescott like he's a top 10 quarterback and capable of being top 5. Pro Football Focus just ranked all of the NFL's top quarterbacks. Dak checks in at number 17, tier 3. Here's how Pro Football Focus described tier 3 quarterbacks. Volatile or conservative quarterbacks whose production will rely even more heavily on supporting cast and play calling. Tier 3 quarterbacks can post top 10 production in any given year in the right situation. According to our friend Jay Glazier, the Cowboys are going to give Dak a contract that pays in the low $30 million per year range. Jerry has said the Cowboys will pay Dak like a top-tier quarterback. That means the Cowboys are going to pay a tier 3 quarterback like he's tier 2 or even tier 1. Jerry's willing to overpay for Dak, but not Zeke. That's the disrespect Zeke feels. Don't hide what you really feel, Zeke. You or your agent, call me. I'll leak it out. I'll credit it to a source with knowledge of what Zeke is thinking. I won't put your name on it, but you need to let Cowboys and Cowboy fans know what your real issue is. You need to let Dak know. You need to let your teammates know. They'll understand. Zeke, you and the offensive line have been doing all the cooking in the Cowboys' offense. Now it's time to eat, and Jerry's about to give Dak the big piece of chicken. Are you kidding me? Daddy get the big piece of chicken. Chris Rock told us that. Pay Dak in compliments. Tell Dak, oh, what a nice check down throw that was. Tell Dak what a great leader he is. But Daddy gets the big piece of chicken. That's you, Zeke. If somebody's going to get overpaid in Dallas, it should be Ezekiel Elliott. But Zeke needs to let us know how he feels. Closed mouth can't get fed. Man up. Stop Jerry from giving Dak the big piece of chicken. All right, Mark Schlereth and James Harris are back with us. Marcellus, I'll start with you. Should Zeke try to stop the Cowboys from overpaying Dak?
First of all, no Whitlock has ever got me hungrier than that one. What the hell you all this chicken you talking about? Boys is out
Chris
there.
Rock.
I know. Like chicken. What do you think an agent is doing? Like, what do you think a player-agent relationship is? It's good cop, bad cop. Being a part of negotiations, I know you have in your own right and own respect, but being a part of player negotiations with the union, with a team, boy, when your agent gets on the phone, it's a lot of pushing and pulling. And he's going to push for you, but he's going to pull, and sometimes it turns into a negative situation. Many a times it does. It's just like when there was a big buzz about, oh, these coaches are doing negative recruiting out there. They're not just trying to get you to come to their program, but they're talking bad about the other programs. I was like, yeah, what do you think they do? Whenever you see a situation that is stagnant, there's always going to be that push-pull. So, yeah, Zeke's agent is already doing this dirty work when he's on the phone with Stephen Jones and others. It's not for public consumption because we haven't hit the panic button yet. This is not panic button time right now because until Dak signs and takes all the chicken, is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Until Dak takes the whole bucket away, Zeke sits there comfortably and reminds them through his agent who's the best player on their team and who deserves that price tag.
I don't think you go in and try and stop someone else from getting money. I'm just not of that era. I believe it's enough money to go around. They can move it however they need to get whoever paid that they need to get paid. I don't think you talk ill about anybody else to make it better for yourself. I'm just not of that nature. I'm not of that mindset. I think Zeke's body of work speaks for itself, and anybody who has a little bit of common sense knows that if they don't have Zeke, Dak is going to have a hard time trying to do anything, getting that ball down the field, if they no longer have a threat of having to stack 7, 8, and 9 people in the box to try and stop this man from running the ball. So to do it that way, I don't think you try and stop Dak from getting paid, but you just make it, tell him, look at the body of work. You are going to have to pay me if you want to have success. You want to make it to a Super Bowl, any chance, you need Zeke in there, period.
The rungs on the ladder of success are not built on the backs of your teammates, right? Those are not the rungs you're stepping over to get your money. Don't fall for the narrative of, oh, it's cap, it's salary cap. There is plenty. There is plenty of money. You've got Tyron Smith making $15 million a year. You've got Zach Martin making 14, Cooper making 13, DeMarcus Lawrence making 11, Travis Frederick making 9. You don't think you can renegotiate those contracts to long-term deals and free up money? Baloney. Of course you can. That's the way the NFL cap works. You know, the NFL always pleads, oh, we're poor, we don't have, the organizations, we're poor, we don't have the cap space, when they don't want to pay you. But when they want to pay you or something comes up, you know what? They can always find the money. They can always renegotiate. There's plenty of money to pay Dak, to pay Zeke, to pay everybody on that roster if you want to get that done.
You know what? I totally believe your narrative, except when it comes to Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. I don't think Jerry Jones has ever been cheap with a player he likes. So I believe Jerry when he's like, I just have to have a lot of players I like. They just re-up with Jalen Smith as we've been doing this show. They announced it. That's early, young guy that they like, a linebacker they like. They have the corner Byron Jones they're going to have to do a deal with. Again, Amari Cooper. See, I believe Jerry that it's like, hey, this salary cap and with all the young players we have, we're in a tough spot. And I think just honestly, it all centers on Dak. Dak wants too much money for the kind of player he is. And it's going to affect the amount of money they can pay Ezekiel Elliott. And when Zeke Elliott hears, we're going to pay Dak like he's a top-tier quarterback, his head damn near explodes. He goes, I'm the best player. I'm the engine of this offense, but you're going to overpay this dude and underpay me? I think if he puts it out there somewhere in the public space to where people can actually talk about this and discuss it, I think Cowboys fans, I think the media, I think everybody say, hey, man, this is crazy.
They not go write the check, though. Jerry got to write the check, so.
Yeah.
Jerry's about to do something crazy, man. You do not. He's a tier 3 quarterback.
I don't see him paying that kind of. I hope he doesn't pay that kind of money for that kind of performance. Dak has given the last 3 years or so.
They're gonna pay him in the 30s.
You know what? Don't understate what just happened, y'all. Jalen Smith just got paid. Y'all remember last week, and I made mention of this, and it didn't get a lot of headlines out there, when Jerry Jones said, someone's gonna sign a deal that we like, and that's gonna set everything in motion. Jalen Smith just signed right now. Now, we all anticipated it was going to be one of the 3. But Amari Cooper, we haven't mentioned his name yet. He's sitting there patiently on the sidelines just watching this public issue between Dak's value and Zeke's value. And he's going to benefit from it because Jalen Smith just benefited from it. Right. And I think Jerry's like, okay, there's 2 ways to handle this. Top down or bottom up. And, in terms of Jalen Smith is signing an early deal in part because of his issues with his injuries and in part because of his production. He's like, I got to cash in right now. Jerry might be in the works of trying to go bottom up with this. And while Dak and Zeke are letting the public have fodder about their deals, maybe they sign up everyone else and then they force the hand of those remaining because the salary cap will be in play because we've signed so many guys. We gave you your top 5 value contracts. You didn't want to sign them. Now we're signing everyone else. Who's coming up? What's left? We'll see how that plays.
I don't know. I don't know if that plays out because for me, I wouldn't go bottom up. I would go from the top of whoever I'm going to pay the most amount of money, the guy that I feel like I cannot do this without, I'm going to pay him first and I'm going to work my way down to where if I get to that bottom and now the cap is really an issue and I don't have the money left, then it's not a person that I can't live without.
But be a shrewd businessman. You got Dak for 1 more year in the franchise tag. You got Zeke for
If
2
I'm
more years.
if I'm
on
a
the
true
franchise tag.
businessman and I
You
look
can make
at
it wait.
Dak's numbers, what he got? 16 games of under 200 yards over the last 3 years. He only has 4, 5, 6 games, maybe at most over 300 yards. I could get a quarterback in the draft and have him for another 2, 3 years and tell him hand the ball off to Zeke, and we're going to play action and get down the field the same way we did with you.
We're saying the same thing, basically. Right. And John Dorsey is going out there right now. He just said it in The Athletic in terms of studying the quarterback position, making a revolving door around rookie deals, and then building the team around just cheap rookie quarterbacks. So it's a real play. And if you're right, we're saying the same thing. Dak, you might get squeezed out of this situation if you don't sign the deal that's on the table.
I would say the tier 3 quarterback thing to me is like the majority of guys, in my mind, are tier 3 quarterbacks.
So why pay him 30-some-odd million?
Well, yeah, I mean, the going rate is the going rate for the quarterback position.
I haven't. He was only tier 3, I think, slotted.
Jimmy Garoppolo, what's he?
He ain't making 30.
27.
He's 27 and a half. And again, if Dak would take 27 and a half, they'd have a deal.
I'm just telling you, most quarterbacks, if you're not named Brady and Rodgers and maybe Breeze, right?
Mahomes.
Mahomes.
And Wilson.
All right, most quarterbacks have got to have players around them, good players around them, to be productive. I mean, this is the ultimate in complementary. Football is the ultimate complement. Like, if you don't block, I don't care how good your receiver is. If you can't block the guys up front, you know what? Your receiver doesn't make an impact.
Well, they got a good line, though. I mean,
yeah, but I'm just saying,
But
everybody's got to be.
Mark, people get paid on potential.
Sure.
And so I think this guy can be a guy that can carry a team. That's why Kirk Cousins got paid.
Okay,
and it's a mistake.
Right. But the potential thing is, if you're going to pay a guy on potential, do it early. That's Jalen Smith.
Yeah.
Do it early so you get a good deal. The Cowboys had him targeted. They knew that he was their quarterback. You should have done this last year. You should never get it to the point where you can see on the horizon, oh my gosh, there's free agency looming. I'm going to get paid. Why would I take the good deal now? Why would I let go of my leverage now? I can see it on the horizon.
Well, I think the Cowboys and what Jerry think is, okay, Dak, okay, you get to that finish line and get to free agency and see if anybody pays you $30 million a year like we're talking about doing. I don't see it happen.
What do you think, though?
I
think your agent is sitting there saying, trust the market. If they're going to devalue you, trust the market.
Well, then you're going to have to franchise him. What's the franchise taking?
No, you don't have to franchise him. Draft you a rookie quarterback.
All right.
Dak,
All right.
nice little run.
All right.
Go take that $22 million that Jacksonville or somebody just offered you. The same as he's got Nick Foles' value. And Nick Foles got $22 million. Dak, they're doing him a favor.
Don't do that to Dak. He has a way better resume than Nick Foles.
Nick Foles got a Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Patches.
I like Nick Foles
Nick
better.
Foles. Resume. What? Second most wins at the position since he's been in the league. Y'all talking about Nick Foles, which was respect.
Wins. He got.
No, I'm just saying, Nick Foles won the
got-
playoff games, and then the next year he goes into the playoffs again. But when you put him out there 1 through 16, come on, man. You
All right, Darnell, we missed anything?
Go with Dak.
Yeah, another guy who might be playing a role in Dak's negotiations is Jimmy G, who, as you guys discussed earlier, looked horrible in last night's preseason game against the Broncos. This Cowboys blog tweeted out, people really say with full confidence that they would take Jimmy G over Dak Prescott. I want to ask you guys, do you think Jimmy's poor play will actually impact Dak's contract negotiation?
It would if it was me. It would make me less likely to pay Dak.
Yeah.
I gotta go with you on that one. I'm all the way there with that one.
It's like, dude, you see that and Carson Wentz just being real. Like, those contracts actually hurt Dak in the sense of he has a better resume than Carson Wentz. At the same time, you're like, but that's premature. Like, so those are two deals that I think are premature. Like, you're overvaluing that prospect.
Well, go to the running back position. Do you think the Todd Gurley deal or the David Johnson deal for $13 million, you think that hurts Zeke Elliott?
Yeah.
Of course it does. Of course it does. So same principle. Yeah, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah. Somehow they turned it into this was going to help Dak, but I think they've got the wrong read on that. But I would love for you to make that point again that you made about, because I agree with you. I'd rather have Nick Foles than Dak Prescott. I don't think that's a crazy statement.
That's just my opinions. I've played, I've got to see Nick Foles, and I've seen enough of Dak, and I feel like Nick Foles can go in there and win me a game, and I'm not that confident in Dak going in there and doing that.
Nick Foles is lightning in a bottle, almost twice, but he can't make it rain 1 through 16 like Dak Prescott can, and that's just the difference.
Dak's making it rain.
Dog, Y'all think he's
Dak
wins
is
just
making
You
it
think he
rain.
just show up in the stadium and then the points just add up and you just get the win?
What strip clubs have you been to?
A lot in Dallas too. Like, I know it does.
Dak makes it sprinkle. You don't make it rain.
You get wet either way. Second most wins.
So you talk
Where
about
they coming
raining.
from? Where they coming from?
He has.
He ain't making a
defense, he got
tsunami
a
up in
great
that
running
thing.
back. So they're running time off the clock,
Raining
running the
nickels.
ball.
You're like, right?
Whitlock and Wiley, just me and Marcellus. We're going to talk some NBA. Sponsored by the Capital One Venture Card. What's in your wallet? To Carmelo Anthony, who is still out of a job despite making a major push to launch an NBA comeback this summer. Our buddy Steven Jackson has claimed Melo is being blackballed, and now another former NBA player, Royce White, says LeBron is part of Melo's unemployment.
All of us here that play the game at the highest level know how good Melo is, and we know that there's no way that the Lakers would go out and sign Jared Dudley and not sign Carmelo Anthony. And another question is, while a guy like LeBron is walking around here like he's the face and voice of the players, how is he letting his banana boat brother hang out there in the wings and they go sign Jared Dudley and not Carmelo? If anybody watching this thinks that Jared Dudley can hold Carmelo's jockstrap, I'll slap you.
Don't slap me. No.
We've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led us astray.
Man,
I think this is unfair criticism of LeBron. If LeBron doesn't think Carmelo fits with the Lakers, LeBron has every right not to make that move. This ain't friends.
Right.
Carmelo's made $200-some-odd million. LeBron doesn't owe him a spot on that roster.
That's one way to interpret this. Let's not mix business with pleasure. Hey, we were on the banana boat. We vacation. You my boy. I got you. I got best friends in my world, too. They are never coming up here on this set, ever. Ever. They blow up my text every damn day talking some junk. Don't. They're not coming here. Or there's another narrative. Maybe LeBron doesn't have the power that we assume he has. Maybe LeBron did run this up the channel, ran it all the way to Jeannie Buss, and it was like met with a pleasant, we'll think about it. You never know, because LeBron is interesting as a Laker, doesn't have the equity, just in purple and gold, as we assume he has. You talk about a Dwight Howard situation. Is LeBron on board with that or not on board with that? You talk about some of the acquisitions that they've made since he's been a Laker. He said, I can work with it. But at the same time, he hasn't signed off on every single transaction. This may be to the undermining of what his power level really is in this franchise.
Well, he certainly didn't get the head coach he wanted.
Right.
They told him no there, and it really told him no twice. They told on Ty Lue and on Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd has to settle for being the associate head coach or the assistant head coach. And so maybe that's true, but I think as it relates to Carmelo, I think if LeBron wanted him on the roster, I do kind of think he would be there, but I just don't think it's LeBron's burden to guarantee Carmelo a job just because they're friends. LeBron has to do what's best for him and the Lakers and put the kind of players around LeBron that make sense. I just don't think LeBron and Carmelo make a lot of sense together. And so I just, no offense to Royce White, but I mean, he came really hard at LeBron on this, and I don't get it. That's not a fair standard to hold LeBron to.
Yeah, this is one thing that I found to be a new hot button narrative. And it's an age-old issue. I don't know why now it's getting so much stress between you're talented enough to still be in the league or you're blackballed. Like, where's the middle ground? Like, I remember in the 90s and when I played in the early 2000s, getting calls from friends. I was like, damn, they cut you? You know you're good enough to make this squad. All right, you're going to land somewhere. Didn't make it. And it wasn't a blackballing. It's just sometimes some people fall through the cracks for various reasons. Carmelo, last seen, was a good player. Good. I don't know, great is the word in Houston, but he put up some numbers at times, horrible on defense. But then he had a chance in those moments to show he could be team friendly. And that's not just, okay, I'll come off the bench. It's also an attitude. I tell my son this all the time. Actions is one part, attitude is the other. And you got to bring them both. Maybe the word is out on Carmelo that he's not going to accept a lesser role. That's not blackballing in my eyes. That's something different.
All right, Darnell, anything we missed?
Yes, sir. We're going to switch gears to Steph Curry, who was so inspired by a recent visit at Howard University that he has pledged to financially support the school's golf teams for both the men and women for the next 6 years. The HBCU hasn't had a golf team since the 1970s. I want to ask you guys, what do you think of Steph's donation to Howard U?
Love it. Love it. This is my whole mantra about what sports are there for. Make as much money as you can and then take that money and support what you believe in.
Exactly.
And so Steph Curry likes golf. He wants to. Here's a HBCU that hasn't had a golf team. This is going to probably affect 15 to 30 students at Howard University. This is tremendous. This is exactly what athletes should be doing with their money. Hey, LeBron's done it with a school in Akron. This is ideal.
Yeah, and this is my favorite way of doing it. No theatrics, no look at me, just do it. Keep it in the lane with your sincerity and with your give back. Like, that's the circle, that's the cycle. And it is great, because, I mean, look, let's just keep it 100. Everyone always looks at a lot of the HBCU programs and say, why are they getting poached for so much of their talent? Why don't they have the resources as the bigger schools when there's so many black players there? So this starts the conversation, and this puts the focus on that situation, which is in dire need of support and assistance.
Just keeping it all the way real, and we don't have a lot of time to get into this, but Marcellus and I have had the conversation about, hey, man, love Ball State, love Columbia University, but let's see if we can help some HBCU football team and try to get that momentum started. And I think Steph has beat us to the punch. He's a great role model. Uncle Jimmy's still in Cabo with the blue M&Ms, drinking margaritas. All right, so we'll get to the highlight from our discussion earlier about Jimmy Garoppolo. I said then, and I say now, Jimmy G String's choice of public companion tells us something about his personality that might make him unfit to be a franchise quarterback.
Time to worry? Not enough good evidence out there for us not to panic. I mean, if you think about who he is, you don't even know what that is.
All right, Marcellus, let me ask you a question before we get to our approval rating. Do you think Jimmy G will get benched this season?
I'm going to answer it like this. Because of the money that they gave him, you got to think $127 million. The hopes of him being a franchise quarterback has to die on that football field. Not get wounded, die on that field. So then when he goes to the sidelines, everyone's like, oh, we're done with him. We can discard him. So no, he doesn't get benched. It has to get ugly for the justification of that money. That was premature to give him that money. You can't be premature in reaction by saying, we're just going to bench him after week 4. I understand that maybe at the sacrifice of a season and at the love of your backup and Nathan Mullins, but you gave him too much to just say, nah, we're good. It's been 4 more games post-injury.
I'm going to answer it this way. I'm 75% sure by week 8 he'll be benched.
Whoa.
And I say that because I think Kyle Shanahan is a savage. And I think that he's a win now. I ain't waiting until later. And they like Nick Mullins. This kid, Nick Mullins got him 3 of their 4 victories last year. And I think they like him. And so I think the guy gets benched midway through the season. Now, again, I have not completely given up on him. That's just my prediction of where this is headed. If you go look at what the Shanahans, Kyle and his Mike, were willing to do, RG3 and Kirk Cousins, Donovan McNabb, when the quarterback playing right, they take action.
Man, once you said Kyle Shanahan, I forgot. I was like, the Sopranos, dog. They don't give a damn. You gonna end up somewhere. They get rid of you and the body.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right there.
All right, so let's get to our approval rating. I've got Jimmy G all the way down to a dumpster fire. 2 in job performance.
1 game preseason.
2 in all-time greatness. He's already played 8 games. Got a great contract.
That's true.
Dropped his character to a 10, or, at 10, and because of the porn star.
What?
And a 24 authenticity. He keeps it real.
I mean, look, that porn star was on Rodeo. Where did they have food? Like, that was in Beverly Hills primetime. So I'll give him authenticity 25. You can't get more real than that. But his all-time greatness is higher. 1, he got a $127 million contract. You got him at a 2. And then he has 2 rings. Don't forget about them rings he got on the bench. That counts.
Brady loaned him 2 rings.
Hey, Gronkowski got one of them lent to him.
Internet agrees with me. You got him at role player. So they got him lower at scout team.
Yeah, not dumpster fire. Don't try to claim that.